Welcome to the Miracle Hotline podcast. My name is Dino Pandolfo, and I am your host. Everyone has experienced a miracle at some point in their life. Maybe you have prayed for a miracle, or maybe you are in desperate need of help. When a miracle happens, it is overwhelming, amazing, and you are so grateful for the gift God has given you. This podcast gives you the opportunity to share your miracle story so that others may believe and have hope, and it will encourage them to keep praying in difficult times. This show examines miracles. It includes first-person accounts, interviews, and investigations of the most credible and amazing miracle stories. You can tell us about your miracle by leaving a message at 412-446-0330 or visiting miraclehotline.com. We may play your message or interview you on this podcast. All right, so this is, we're doing our first interview for this Miracle Hotline podcast, and I have in the studio here Micah Hobbs, who was the inspiration for this whole idea of recording people's miracles and having them call in and that kind of that kind of stuff. So Micah was the inspiration because we are recording the audio book version of the book he just wrote called. What is it called?
Journey Beautiful.
Right, Journey Beautiful. And as I'm recording this with Micah, it's an amazing book. I mean, it's a page turner. It's not just like, oh, I got a miracle and I saw, the typical story. But it goes different places. It's like when you think it's going one way, another thing happens. So it's a really exciting book. A lot of different things are happening, and we're just turning pages, and it's like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? So I'll let Micah describe his miracle. So here's the first question I have for you, Micah. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad to be here.
You're a pro now. I'm like, this is my first interview. So I'm going to be the one. You're going to teach me how to do this. So,
oh boy. We're in it together, brother.
All right, so this is my list of questions here. My first question is, now I heard your story a couple times, but can you describe exactly what happened? And I'm going to jump in because there is a couple things here that I still don't understand. So
okay.
You're in a construction job. So what is your job just generally? Just kind of give me an idea of what you do and what kind of projects you've done.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm a union carpenter, heavy highway construction carpenter in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pretty much what we do is we build bridges, roadways, and sidewalks and things of that nature that cars could drive over. So we do heavy highway construction. I also do residential construction as well, but mainly I build bridges in the city of Pittsburgh, the city of bridges. Wow.
So what are some of the biggest bridges you've built, or something that we all know that we use all the time?
The biggest job that I was on was in Harmarville, the new Harmarville well, it's not new anymore, but the Harmarville Turnpike. We built 2 big structures for there and 2 new turnpikes and destroyed the old one. That job lasted 3 years. I also was on a hot metal bridge where that was rehabbed, and we put the walkway where you can now ride your bike.
Oh, I always use that one.
Do you?
Yeah, I love that.
That's my work.
That's cool.
I also recently was working downtown Pittsburgh for the new park that we're building in the city of Pittsburgh, right across the street from the PPG Arena and the 7-Eleven and the USX building. You know, all that construction.
Yeah, that cap they're going to put from downtown to the what I forget, uptown area.
That's right.
Okay.
And we capped it already. It's already capped, and we're building the walls now and finishing up. It should be done somewhere around December of this year.
That's really cool. So you're doing like your job. Do you like make wooden frames to pour the cement into, or how does that work?
Oftentimes we do make wooden frames to pour the concrete structures, and oftentimes we have pre-made or precast panels that are made already that we could put into place, and we connect those panels together. Okay. Sort of like what we are using on the job in McKeesport where I had my accident. Those were panels that were already made out of wood, aluminum, and steel. So they come pre-made.
Oh, so the panels are the part that the concrete is poured into.
Correct. The
I
panels
see.
are what keeps the concrete in the specific structure that we want them to go
Okay.
for the desired effect.
So when you're building the forms, you're either building them from scratch out of wood,
Mm-hmm.
or you're taking these panels and you're assembling them.
Mm-hmm.
Once they're all assembled, then they pour the concrete into that. Is that right? Or?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. That's pretty much exactly what we do. Depending on the structure and the size of it, if we could use panels that are already made, we'll use those. If we have to make them, we have the skills to make them as well.
I see. Okay, so go ahead and tell us your miracle story. And I'll when I have questions, because I always have questions, and I'm like,
Feel
what
free
is
to
this?
ask.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. So go ahead and tell it. So it was Good Friday.
Yes.
That you went to work. Now, why are you working on Good Friday? Everybody in the world is off.
Except for construction.
Except for you guys. I mean, that's weird, right?
Yeah, well, they have deadlines and things that they need to meet, and we don't get every holiday off. Some holidays we don't get. Some holidays we do. Good Friday is not one of the holidays that they voted on taking off. They like to get the work done. And it's crazy because they don't take off a Good Friday, but the first day of buck season, everybody's gone.
Oh, wow.
So, so they voted, and they voted on which days.
So that's
we
not
get
a
off
holiday for you.
For construction.
For construction. No. Okay, so go ahead. It's Good Friday.
Yes.
2012.
April 6th.
You go to work. Okay, I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fine. But we had a schedule of an 8-hour day, which is a nice day for us because, we don't have to be there 10 to 12 hours. 8 and skate is like what we usually call it. So it was Good Friday, April 6th, 2012, and I was on my way to work. And it was a great, great day. I knew we were only going to be there for 8 hours. I had to pick up my nieces to bring them back to Monroeville, where we lived at, because we often take them to church with us, buy them dresses, Easter baskets. We do the Easter egg hunt, the whole thing, the whole big deal. So I was looking forward to the weekend and the Easter holiday. Well, unbeknownst to me, I was going to be dead an hour later. On the job that I was on, we were building a sewage treatment plant for the good folks in McKeesport, and somebody didn't properly put the bolts in the wall. There were bolts in that wall that were not in the concrete. And oftentimes we do that because the electricians have to put their pipe in their conduit through that pipe. So we leave that hole, like a PVC pipe that you would find under your sink or, in your bathroom. And we leave that hole so that the electricians could shove their wires through it, right through the wall. Well, usually we take that bolt out first. It's called a dummy bolt because only a dummy will leave it in the wall. That's what we call it. Usually we take that out first. But somebody didn't take that dummy bolt out. And while I was on the wall signaling the crane, the panels start coming off the wall. And this panel...
So you're standing on the panel.
Yes.
And the panel is supposed to be bolted to a part that's already there, that's
Yes.
already a concrete portion that's already dried and it's solid.
Sure. It's already done. We poured
Okay.
it. It's done. And we usually keep about 30 bolts in this wall so that as we're pouring the concrete, the two walls don't want to separate and spread all over and possibly hurt somebody or kill somebody. So we usually put 30 bolts in this wall, and we did. But they take 2 bolts out once the concrete is poured and it's settled and it's hard. The next day, they take all those bolts out and only leave a couple in just to keep that panel on that wall so that when we're ready for it, it's right there and we can hook it up with a crane and move it to anywhere on a job.
So you thought it was on with
the bolts.
With
yes.
just a couple bolts.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Usually a couple bolts is all you need to keep that panel there.
So how thick is, I can't get a picture of what this panel looks like.
Okay. It's a very large structure. We usually gang form them together. So individually, they are 10 feet wide by 20 feet. 10 feet wide by 20 feet high. And we gang formed these panels together. so that we clamp them together. And it weighs about 2,000 tons, that gang form system. I'm sorry, not 2,000 tons, 2,000 pounds.
Okay. So it's like a ton. Like,
4,000 pounds. Sorry, 4,000 pounds.
Okay.
Yep. Which is a little bit over 2 tons is how
Okay.
big this structure was. And we climb on these panels to do our work with our body harnesses and what's called a positioning hook. The positioning hook allows us to hook onto the panel so that our hands are free to do the work that is necessary. So as we're on the panel with our body harnesses on, we're actually attached to the panel.
Okay. So these it's like a structure. I mean, this is something you're climbing on. You assume this is solid. It's like, you take it for granted that it's not going to go anywhere. You're safe on there.
Correct.
Okay.
And I didn't build this particular segment, so I didn't know that there was a dummy bolt in the wall. Like I said, usually we take that out first. Somebody would paint it orange or fluorescent green or put a high visibility ribbon on it, something to signify that this bolt is not in a concrete wall. That way you could leave another one that would be in a concrete wall.
Okay.
So when you have 2 bolts in it, it will keep that panel there on that concrete structure. It's not going to come off by itself.
So so you're did you pour the concrete into this panel yet, or was it?
Yes, the concrete was already poured and hard at that time. That's why we are free to take the panel.
You're about to remove the panel.
Mm-hmm. I was told by my boss to go get the panels from the outside of the wall and crane them in to the inside of the wall where we needed them.
Okay.
And me and my partner went to go do that, which is routine. The panel was sitting there on the wall. I told the operator what we were going to do. He swung over and got in position, and I climbed up the panel to signal him, to get him centered right over the panel so I could hook it up properly and it will move evenly. While I was doing that, my partner took out the bottom bolt. And what procedure is, when you take the bottom bolt out, you wait till the panel's hooked up and it has tension on it. Then you can remove that last bolt.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
So,
I understand that now. Okay.
And because the concrete was already poured,
okay.
And those panels didn't need to be there anymore. We need them on the inside.
Okay.
So my partner took out that middle bolt, and unbeknownst to us, we literally were free at that time. At that time, we were free because that other bolt that's in the middle was not in concrete at all.
So he took out the last bolt.
He took out the first one. He didn't take out the last one. He got in position to take it out. He was standing there waiting for me to hook the crane up with the shackles. And when we hook it up, we give it a little tension so that when we take that last bolt out, the panel doesn't fall.
It's hooked
up to the crane.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing. I was in a process of signaling him to center him up so we could take this last bolt out and get this panel over to the inside wall.
Okay.
Well, while that was happening, I heard screaming and yelling, which on a concrete site, that is on a construction site, that's commonplace. Somebody's always yelling and screaming and whatever. It's a very aggressive environment out there. So I didn't pay it much attention. But then I continued to hear it as I was signaling the crane operator. And I looked down and it was my superintendent and he was talking to me. and I looked at him and he said he needs that crane now. Well, what happened was a truck of rebar, and rebar is just metal that we place inside of concrete. It's like the bones of concrete to keep it strong. It's green usually, and you've probably seen it before.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Right.
It's always in concrete.
It's always like these metal rods that reinforce it. Right.
Yep, like the bones of the concrete.
Right.
So the rebar truck had just come in and pulled in, and when that truck comes in, you want to get him out fast because you're being charged the time as he sits there. Well, I didn't know he needed that crane, and I was told to come get this panel. And him being a superintendent, it's his job, so he could do what he wanted. When he told me he needed that crane to get the rebar off the truck, I looked over to the operator and I signaled for him to go with the superintendent because I had one bolt in the wall. The panel's not going nowhere. We could come back for it. That bolt will hold it. Okay? And now he took the crane and I was like, all right, yep, you can have it. And when the operator swung away, my partner asked me, he said, well, what do you want to do now? I said, well, get down. We have other stuff to do. We'll come back when we can get the crane. We ain't moving this panel without the crane. We can't. It's 4,000 plus pounds, a little bit over 2 tons. So we were not moving it without the crane. So
Right.
he said, okay. And he got down safely. And I waited till he got down off the wall, which is 20 feet high. And when he got down, I made my descent. I took off my positioning hook and I took a step down. And when I took that step, I felt a shift. And I thought initially it was the crane behind me moving because I felt the rumble, the ground shaking. And I turned to each side, my head, to see behind me. And when I did that, I realized that my worst nightmare had come true, that I was actually falling backwards while connected to this panel.
So the panel, what happened to the bolt?
The bolt was in PVC pipe and not into concrete.
Oh.
So when my partner got off the wall and I made my descent.
So that was the dummy bolt you were talking about?
That was the dummy bolt that they left from the wall. Somebody left a dummy bolt in the wall.
And that was the one bolt that you guys thought was going to hold it.
Exactly. We were going to leave that here until we got the panel.
Wow. Okay.
But we didn't
I understand this now.
But we didn't build that particular wall segment, so there would be no way for us to know that that's a dummy bolt.
Because it's supposed to be marked.
It's supposed to be marked, and it was not.
I got you.
And they had already came through with the pre-strip crew. They took all the other bolts out and left those two in. So technically, it was their job to make sure that all those bolts was in concrete.
Wow.
And they didn't do that.
So this 4,000-pound panel, so you're hooked to it.
Yes.
And it's falling.
Yes.
How many feet?
I'm 20 feet in the air at this time.
20 feet. So 20 feet is like what, two stories?
2 stories, about 2 stories. Mm-hmm.
And you're still hooked to it, or?
I was hooked to it at that time until I heard a voice in my head, which I know now that it was God. And the voice said 5 words: do not go for, or don't go for this ride. And I got a flash of Kennywood, believe it or not, which is a amusement park in Pittsburgh here. And it happened so fast, I understood what the voice was saying. Don't go for this ride. In other words, don't just hold on and take the fall.
Yeah.
So when I heard that, I didn't need a teleprompter. I didn't need a pastor. I didn't need somebody to explain to me what this voice was trying to say. I didn't need a teleprompter either. I knew that was God. I knew what he was saying, and it registered. So what I did was I took off my positioning hook, which held me to the panel.
And this is while you're moving.
Yes, I'm already going backwards, which is another miracle.
And you're falling backwards.
Yes. I'm attached to the panel, and it's already moving backwards. So this is what I tell people is the first miracle that happened, because 2 tons does not fall slow.
Yeah.
It goes pretty quick.
So is it leaning backwards, or is it falling straight down? I mean, is it like
leaning.
timber, like a tree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So at this time, I'm already leaning backwards, though, because when I turned to look to see if the crane was moving behind me, I was already at an angle.
So you're on top. You're standing at the very top of this.
Yep.
Like a vertical panel.
Yes.
And you're falling backwards, and your feet are on the top of it.
No, my feet were about maybe 2 feet down from it, because I was signaling the crane so that I could hook him up to the top.
I got you.
So I was in position to hook up the top. The top is right there. I'm looking at it.
Okay.
My feet were about, a couple feet down from it, but I'm holding on to this panel.
Oh my gosh.
And as I'm going backwards, I heard that voice, and I knew it was God. And I came off my positioning hook. I hit the safety and took it off. And people who know me know that I think I'm Batman anyway. Since I was 9 years old, I've always had a Batman complex. I just love some Batman. So I tried it. I turned around and I jumped.
So because we see movies all the time, people are falling, buildings are falling, exploding, and they're jumping, and they're rolling, or they land in water or something.
Right.
But so you're turning around 180 degrees,
and I jumped,
pulling off the thing, and you leap while this thing is falling.
Yes.
Okay.
And in my mind, I seen just what you described. In my mind, I seen me hit the ground, and I told myself, Micah, roll. This panel's right behind you. If you don't roll, it's going to get you. And in my mind, I seen me hit the ground, roll, and the panel just barely miss me.
Right.
And now remember, this is all happening while this panel is falling. I had
Right.
all these thoughts while the panel was falling. So that's why I tell people this was the first miracle. Because one of two things happened. Either God slowed time down or he sped me up.
Right.
Something happened.
But you got that message that told you. So that was like God speaking to you like
Directly.
Right.
Don't go for this ride.
Yeah. So
And I didn't.
so then what happens?
So I am falling to the ground, and remember that I'm still having this moment, and I could see my tool belt on. I could see my work boots, my jeans. I could see my tools just flailing in the air. And as I'm looking at the ground, I could see it slowly coming closer and closer. And I was only up 20 feet, but it seemed like an eternity.
Yeah.
It seemed like an eternity. And when I hit the ground, it was lights out. It was the panel hit on top of me.
So you didn't clear the panel.
I didn't.
You
clear it.
jumped,
Yep.
but then the panel fell. You were short of the panel. It actually fell right on top of you.
Yes, sir. I didn't get the trajectory that I needed
And you were
because I was already at an
you were
angle when I
you were
jumped.
kind of already down into the panel a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You weren't like at the very top where you could get away from it. So you're face down or face up?
Yes, I'm face down.
you're face down.
When I turned to jump away from the panel, I turned on a rib and I jumped. Once I heard that voice say, "Don't go for this ride," and that's when I seen the ground coming closer and closer. I see my tool belt flailing in the air. I see my work boots, and I see the ground getting closer and closer. And when I said to myself, when you hit the ground, roll. It may hurt. You may feel like your legs is broke. Roll, roll, roll. You gotta roll. You can't just hit the ground. And then when I hit the ground, I never had an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because once I hit, the panel hit me like a fly swatter.
So was it dirt or what kind of surface did you fall onto?
It was a dirt surface, and
Right.
that was another miracle that I ended up finding out about, because the 2 days prior, when they finished pouring the concrete in this particular wall, we had extra concrete, and I found out through one of my coworkers that the operator was instructed by the superintendent to take that extra concrete and put it at the bottom of the form so the carpenters could have a nice place to work on. And he didn't do that.
Oh, so
he left
it
it
could
in
have
the
been
pile.
concrete.
It should have been. It should have been concrete, because he
Oh
was
my
told
gosh.
to spread.
And you
that
would have
extra-
really been squashed if it
Yes.
was
Yeah.
concrete. There'd be no cushion of dirt at all.
No.
Wow.
But the cushion in the dirt really didn't save me, because I still died
Yeah.
instantly. But they did say this when they pulled me out from under there, and they finally lifted that panel off the ground, that the imprint was at least 4 inches.
So you got squashed by this panel
Literally.
and you passed, you like went unconscious at that time.
I was gone. Once it hit me, it was lights out. I didn't know anything. My next knowledgeable thought or conscious thought, this is going to get weird, but I was in the darkness. It was all dark. It was pitch black. There was nothing around. I knew that I was there, but I couldn't see my hands in front of me. I couldn't see my feet. It was completely dark. Like there was no silhouette. There was nothing. But there was these 2 walls on each side of me, vibrating violently. And the walls were, how do I explain this? They were darker than the rest of the darkness. Like I could tell that they were darker, and they were moving very violently, kind of like that trash compactor that they were in Star Wars.
Star Wars.
It was just coming in closer and closer. Yeah. And I said to myself, which I didn't know where I was at in this darkness, but I did have cognitive thought, because I said to myself, I asked myself a question. I said, what's going to happen when these walls close? And I didn't have an answer. So I experienced fear. I got afraid. And as soon as I got afraid, there was this light way out in the darkness, kind of like a star way far away, just a little pinhead light. And as the walls got closer, the light got bigger. And when the walls closed in on me, the light was everywhere, but it was still violently shaking. And I tell people it was like what it looks like when you open your eyes underwater. You could see objects and shapes, but you can't focus in on them, It was like that. It was like looking underwater. and I could see the vibrations were slowing down. So I wanted to know where I'm at, what is going on. And when the vibrations stopped, my foreman was on top of me, squeezing my hand and rubbing my head, saying, kid, stay with me, kid. Stay with me, kid. Please don't die. Just keep breathing, kid. And I didn't know that I was dead. And I didn't know that almost a half hour had already passed.
Wow. So you regained consciousness while you were still at that construction site?
Yes, sir.
Laying right before the ambulance came or anything?
Yes, sir. Some people said it was about 25 minutes. Some people say 26. Some people say it was a half hour.
So they, and you said it took a while to even lift the panel. They thought you were dead immediately.
Yeah, which I was, because when they got the panel off me, I was already gone. There was no heartbeat.
So your heart stopped.
There was no breath. Yes, sir.
You were dead.
Dead. I was already dead.
Flat line.
Mm-hmm. When they called the paramedics, they told them that I was already gone, and they picked up the body.
Wow.
So when the panel hit me, this is what I was told by coworkers. When the panel hit me, including my partner, who's still my good friend to this day, when the panel hit me, my partner went to go get the other carpenters. They were so far away, they didn't even hear the panel fall. They didn't hear 2 tons hit the ground. They were that far away. When he got there, he told him, he was like, guys, you got to get over here quick. The panel fell. And he's the boss's son. So they gave him a little bit of a hard time. Like, what did you do now? And he's like, no, you don't understand. Micah's under it.
Oh my gosh.
And people stopped talking and everybody started running.
Yeah.
And when they got there, they told the operator who was still there to get in this crane and get this panel off this carpenter. And he told them no. He said, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting involved. I watched the whole thing. That guy is gone. I'm not getting involved.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I don't know. I don't understand why, there's a person under that panel that, and he wouldn't move it. I mean, I don't know why.
He said he didn't want to get involved. He said, I seen the whole thing.
I mean, how else were they going to move it?
Right. Well, that was the first time. That was the first way they tried to move it.
Right.
But when he said that, one of my good friends said, I'm not going to say the language. I'm not going to use his language, but so many words. He was like, if you don't get in your crane and get this panel off this carpenter, you're going to have a problem with every carpenter on his job.
Right. And
he got in the crane. But when he did, when you're operating heavy machinery like that, your movements has to be smooth and steady.
Right, because you could have gotten hurt even more if it would have pulled the wrong way.
Exactly. And they said when he got in the crane, he was trying to operate the controls and it was going like he couldn't. He was in shock as well.
Yeah.
He was also in shock.
So he was nervous about him doing it.
And he didn't want to do it. He told them no.
Right.
And they made him do it. And then when they seen that he was not in the proper mind frame to do it, they said, never mind. And what they did is start taking 4x4 lumber and wedged it in on one side, lifted it up, put more 4x4s under it. And they did that on each side until they could get that panel high enough so they could send 2 guys under there safely to retrieve me. And that's what they did. One side they lifted, and the other side they lifted, and more until they got it high enough and safe enough to send 2 guys under there. And at first they couldn't find me. They didn't know where I was at. They were searching for me. They didn't know where I was at. When they eventually found me, they started pulling on my clothes, and my clothes were ripping, and I had my harness on still. So they told me, they grabbed me by my body harness, and that's how they was able to unwedge me and pull me out. And they checked my vitals because I was face down, and there was nothing. There was no pulse. There was no heartbeat. There was no breath.
Wow.
There was no Micah.
So so they pulled you out.
Yes, sir.
And then you'd be worried about injuring somebody even worse,
right,
by yanking on them, especially if they have broken bones. Or, you're not supposed to move somebody
Correct.
if they have a a spinal injury because you could make it worse.
Correct.
But they had to get you out of there. I mean,
They had to get me out of there. And that, like I said, they checked my vitals. They told me they checked my vitals as soon as they pulled me out, and I was already gone. And people from everywhere on the job were just standing there crying and wailing. And my young apprentice started wailing my name and Micah,
oh my
Micah.
gosh.
Because we had just talked that morning about the goodness of God and, Good Friday and things like that.
Wow. So how were you resuscitated? Did they do CPR or what happened?
No, sir. That's the miracle. After they checked my vitals and they realized that I was gone, they didn't have a fear of moving me. So they told me, they turned me over to get the dirt off my face just out of respect for my body. And they wiped the dirt off my face, and they said, when they did, my eyes were like wide open and as big as golf balls. And it was scary for a lot of people because when he wiped the dirt off, it was like I was looking at him, but I wasn't there anymore. I wasn't blinking, no breath. I'm already gone. And they wiped the dirt off my face.
So your eyes were still open.
They said
But
wide open, like I seen
wow.
a UFO or something shocking, or
gosh.
you know what I mean? Just wide open. And it took a lot of people back because they didn't expect that I'm laying there with my eyes wide open, not breathing, no pulse, no nothing. I'm already gone. And what happened next is the miracle, because they were all standing there waiting for the paramedics to come. And somebody told my foreman, they said, hey, we know the kid's gone and the paramedics are on their way, but they're going to ask you when you get here, did you try to resuscitate him? You don't want to tell them, no, you didn't try, right? So he said, I would try to resuscitate the kid. And my foreman, who was already my good friend, we had been on multiple jobs together, he actually was in shock as well. And he said, yeah, you're right. And he started walking to my body, and I was about maybe 10 feet away from him. And they said, before he could even get there, before he could even touch me or try CPR, they said out of nowhere, I took a deep breath like if I was underwater, just like,
Oh my gosh. Well, that must have been.
And I started blinking really, really, really hard. Well, I had dirt in my eyes, obviously, so I'm blinking really, really, really. And that's when I come to consciousness, and he was on top of me saying, kid, stay with me, kid, stay with me. Oh, just keep breathing, kid.
Wow.
Because before he could get there, I just took a breath, and that was God putting his life-giving spirit back into my body.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And I tried to get up, Dino. I tried to get up because when I come to consciousness after I seen these walls and the vibrations stopped, he was on top of me, like in my face. And I was like, whoa, back up. Let me get some breathing room. Just let me get up and let me catch my breath. I thought I made it. I thought I made it. I thought maybe I just passed out or something. But he said, I ain't letting you up. That panel fell on you. And then I turned my head to the side. I could see how they had it up in the air, and I didn't know. And I was like, man, it's hard for me to breathe right now. My lungs. I was like, it's hard for me to breathe. Just let me stand up and catch my breath. He's like, I ain't letting you up. And he told me that I hit him because I was trying so desperately to get up. But I do not remember that.
Yeah.
And have apologized to him for that. When I was in the hospital, I sincerely apologized because that's my good friend. He was like, yeah, you caught me with a good one. I didn't even remember that. But he said I was trying to get up.
Wow.
Because it was hard for me to breathe. Well, unbeknownst to me, I had a cracked sternum. Cracked wide open. And I had 4 broken ribs. I had kidney damage. I had liver damage. My pelvis was in 16 pieces.
Wow.
And the bone shrapnel from that violent hit shot bone fragments into my intestines.
Oh gosh.
So I was internally bleeding bad. And I didn't know none of these things. If he would have allowed me to stand up under the weight of my body, because my pelvis was shattered, I would have died again.
Yeah.
I would have died again instantly. If he had said, okay, kid, let me help you stand up, I didn't have no pelvis to stand on.
Right.
The weight of my body would have killed me again, they said. So he left me down and he asked me, did I have emergency contact? And I gave him my wife's number, and I could hear somebody in the background talking to her answering machine. Mrs. Hobbs, give us a call. As soon as you get this message, there's some accident happened to your husband. We can't give you all the details, but we're sending him to the hospital. The paramedics are on their way. I could hear him talking to her. So I was like, oh, she's still asleep. And the paramedics showed up, and they asked me where I hurt at. And I told them everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And they said, well, this is going to hurt. They put me on a gurney. It did. And when I got into the ambulance, they told me they were going to put me to sleep, and they medically induced me right there.
Yeah.
And from McKeesport, Pennsylvania, they drove me to Mercy Hospital, which I thought was odd that I didn't get a life flight.
You get a helicopter.
But the reason why they didn't send a helicopter is because when they called them, I was already gone.
Right.
They told them to come get the body. And the ambulance didn't believe that I was going to make it to the hospital. They drove. They didn't.
Yeah.
They said people with these injuries never make it to the table. They die in the ambulance.
Wow.
They never make it to the table with the injuries I sustained. So when they were called, they were told that I was gone. But when they got there, I was alive.
That's amazing. And then the other miracle is when I see you, you don't even limp. I mean, you're just like,
I used to.
you're just like fine, totally fine. No, you're not even slow. Some people, it takes a while to get up the steps or whatever. You're just bang, just like totally 100% fine. I'm sure, there's things you can't see, but from appearances, you look like healthy as anybody.
Glory to God. That's a blessing. I tell people that the healing power.
Yeah. What was the road like from dying and then being totally shattered to your recovery? It's a miraculous recovery to see you now.
Thank you, brother. I worked really hard at occupational therapy and physical therapy. I ended up having 29 surgeries altogether. I was in the hospital I was in a coma for 3 weeks, medically induced coma. And I was in the hospital for about 3.5 months. So it was not an easy process. That's not even counting the rehab. That's just the hospital stay.
Right.
It was a very, very, very difficult position to be in. I had a metal hula hoop kind of like stuck in my pelvis when they repaired it, and I couldn't move. I was bedridden. I had a tube in my throat because I couldn't breathe on my own. I had a colostomy bag. I had a trach. It was bad. But the one thing that was in my mind was I was so glad that I was alive. I was so grateful that I was alive, and I didn't want no wheelchair. They told me that I probably would have to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, and I rejected it. Wow. I didn't want no parts of it.
Right.
So when it came to working out with occupational therapy and physical therapy, I really did try hard because I wanted my body back. Everything I did had something to do with my body. The way I put food on the table is because I go out there and do construction, and I use my physical attributes to earn a living. So everything that I do, even I used to play basketball all the time. So I was in pretty good shape when the accident happened. And I wanted that back. I didn't want no parts to do with the wheelchair.
And you're back doing your same job, the construction, just as you were before.
Yes, sir. I did end up going back to work 3 years later.
That's amazing.
3 years later. And they didn't expect that at all. They still are amazed that I'm back to work. But I see that as God's work because the people that are there, construction is a very, very hard job. And a lot of people are calloused because of the hardness of that job.
Yeah, because a lot of people, once they're injured, you can go on disability, mm-hmm. you can get a desk job. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things you can do to milk it, really, to say, hey, I was injured on the job. I'm going to sue this person. I'm going to sue that person. I'm going to be set for life. But you didn't do that. You just went right back to your job.
Yeah. After about 2.5 years, I decided that I wanted to go back to work because I believed that God was going to use this testimony, especially for the construction workers, for the ones in that are calloused by the world and just life in general, they need to be reminded that not only is God real, but the healing power of the Lord Jesus Christ is still on the earth.
So this is my next question. This kind of leads into it. Now, people might say, "Oh, well, it's coincidence. You healed. The body heals, and it just natural science. And like, how do you know it was a miracle and not just a series of luck and coincidences and your own hard work? What sets it apart from being a miracle and just a natural coincidence?"
Well, with natural coincidences, that means that things just happen, like they just fell into place. If you look at the story of what happened to me, you know how many things have to fall into place in order for me to be here right now, for me to even be talking to you, because medically speaking, after the brain does not receive oxygen for 6 minutes, it starts to die.
Right. So the first thing is your mind is totally fine. For that has to be a miracle, right? Because
yes, sir.
It has to be.
Because I was gone for over 20 minutes. And I live with pain, though. I don't share a lot of that with people because it doesn't really help take away my pain. But I do. I've gotten used to living with pain. I experience pain on a daily basis. And even though on the outside I look well, oftentimes in the morning and at night or after a long day work, I feel like every bit of pain. I feel my ribs that are broken, they're healed up, but I can still feel the pain there.
Yeah. And you still have like pins and plates and stuff
yes, sir.
to hold your pelvis together, isn't that right?
I have 4 plates in me and 10 pins holding me together. 2 of those pins are about 6 inches long, and they connect my pelvis to my spine, which allows me to stand upright.
Now, so how did you feel when you knew it was a miracle? Like, yeah, that's
cried.
the question.
I cried. I cried. Like I said, I was a Christian and a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ before this accident happened. Some people say that's one of the things that saved me, but I cried because I was so humbled and grateful that the Lord decided to give me this type of miracle and not allow my wife to be a widow. I was so grateful for that. I didn't like my situation because I was in a hospital bed, and I didn't like being confined to the bed and all the physical injuries that I had. I mean, I was having surgery sometimes 2-3 times a week. I mean, I racked up a lot of frequent flyer miles in his surgery room, and it was not easy. So there was a bout with depression because eventually I felt like I was being a hindrance to people because so many people would come to see me. They would cry. They would be sad. You know what I mean? And I didn't want people to feel like that about me. You know, like I said before, I have a Batman complex. I'm here to help. I'm not here to be a hindrance,
Right.
And so I did battle depression deeply while I was in the hospital.
Yeah, just being slowed down to that.
Yes,
that
it was
point.
bad.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And after months of being there, my situation looking the way it is, there was definitely moments when the devil was just playing on my heart and on my head.
Yeah. So how has your faith changed since you are the recipient of such a huge miracle? And you were already a believer before, but what has this done for your faith?
Everything. It encouraged me. It empowered me. I always knew that God was with me because this is not the first miracle that I had, and I talk about it in the book.
Right.
But I didn't know that. I didn't know my faith. It just transferred to like trust. It went from faith and just morphed into trust because I know for a fact that he did this.
Yeah.
It was only the devil people don't know this, but the devil doesn't have power over life or death. He doesn't have that ability to put life into your body, and he doesn't have the ability to take life out of your body. So God is the only one with the power to give life. So when he put me back in my body, when he put his breath back in me, in the Hebrew we call that ruha. That's that breath, that life-giving spirit, what he breathed into Adam and made him a living soul. When he put that breath back into me and allowed me to live, it overwhelmed me. I remember having a bout with depression, and God comforted me by saying, Micah, many people died. People die every single day. He said, but not very many of them get a chance to come back.
Yeah.
So in other words, he was saying, your situation is bad. I know you don't like it, but you're alive.
So it was even though you had been brought back from the dead, it was still, it's still a struggle going forward.
Big struggle.
And you still need to have that, what was faith, even more trust to keep going even till now.
Even to get through therapy itself.
Yeah.
And like I said, 29 surgeries. I was having 2 to 3 surgeries a week. I really had to count on God. I really had to believe. I really had to put my faith into action because I couldn't move and I was powerless about the whole situation. They were telling me I was going to be in a wheelchair, told me they didn't know if I was going to walk again or even make love to my wife again.
Yeah.
They told me these things. And if you listen to what the doctors say, you will get depressed.
Right.
Because very rarely do they say, oh, you're going to be fine. Every time I asked them a question, their answer was, we don't know if that's going to work or not, but we're going to give it a try.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean you don't know if it's going to work or not? So I had to rely on the word of God and the encouragement of God. I had to believe in God more than I believed in the doctors or the nurses or the medicine itself.
Right. Well, that's that's just one of this story, or this occurrence is just one of the miracles in your book. I mean, you have a whole lifetime of them that when you were recovering, you recounted the miracle of your birth, the miracle of your upbringing, the miracle of your, there's I mean, the book has so many miracles in it that you experienced, and it's a really great book.
Such a blessing. It really is, because God, he's doing something with this book, with the testimony, and like you said, it started when I was born. I wasn't even supposed to be born. My mother had ovarian cancer. She was diagnosed with it in her 20s at a very young age. And she wasn't able to have babies because she was taking this radical new treatment at the Allegheny General Hospital called chemo treatment, which just started. We're talking about 70s, like early 70s. And chemo treatment had just popped onto the scene, and my mother was taking her treatments because they diagnosed her with cancer. And she would get pregnant. Her and my father, they were married. She would get pregnant, but there was always complications, miscarriages or something. The baby never made it through the full trimesters. And my mother asked the doctor, why is that? She could get pregnant, but none of the babies are making it. And he explained it to her that because of her chemo treatment, which is radioactivity, that, them babies is probably being killed in there.
Yeah. Because
of the radiation. Because her womb is twisted. She had cancer in the womb, in her ovaries. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So she told her that she probably will not be able to have children, and instructed her to maybe get a dog or a cat or a pet or something that she could pour her motherly instincts into. Well, I'm so glad that my mother did not take his advice, because she wanted to have a child so bad, with my father, and they were newlyweds, and she wanted so badly to have a child. Well, they went to church that Saturday and went to revival. And this pastor, he comes down once a year for the revival. Well, he was running up and down the church, preaching a fire and brimstone, Holy Ghost filled sermon, speaking in tongues and everything. And the Pentecostal movement in Pittsburgh had just really kicked off. Oral Roberts and people of that nature, big time pastors, used to always come down to Pittsburgh because of the Pentecostal movement. So my mother and father are in the church, and as this pastor is running up and down the aisles, he stopped at her, looked, and said, God has something in store for you. God got a blessing for you. And he looked again. There was an awkward silence, and he went back to running up and down the aisles. And my mother said, "Ooh, I can't wait. I can't wait till prayer line. I'm going up to, see what God has in store for me." And she did. And when it was her turn to enter the prayer line and to come up to meet the pastor, he said, yes, I remember you in the audience. God got something in store for you. And he began to tell her, Dino, he said, "You've been trying to have a baby, haven't you?" Now, this minister's from out of town. He does not know my mother. He's not even from Pittsburgh. But he said, "You've been trying to have a baby, haven't you?" She said, yes, I have. He said, "And this is how you'll know that God is speaking through me." He said, "It's been about 4 years you've been trying to have a baby, hasn't it?" She's like, "Yes, it's been exactly 4 years." And the doctor said, "You can't have him, huh?" She said, "Yes." He was like, "Do you believe that God could give you a child?" And she said, "Yes, sir, I do. I do believe that he could give me a child." He said, "Good." He said, "Where's your husband at?" And he was standing right behind her. And he asked him the same question. He says, "Brother, do you believe that God could do this? Do you believe that God could give you and your wife a child?" And he said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do believe." Well, the pastor went on to say, "This is what I want you to do. To further let you know that God's speaking through me, I want you to go back to the hospital, and they're going to tell you you're pregnant now."
Wow.
And he said, "We'll pay for it." Because back then you used to have to pay per hospital visit.
Right.
So he said, "Just tell the pastor how much it is, and I'll send him the money. I'll reimburse him. But I want you to go back to that hospital. They're going to tell you you're pregnant now." He said, "And when I come back, I'm going to play with your baby." And my mother was like, "Well, when are you coming back?" He was like, "I don't know. But when I come back, I'll play with your child." And that was the prophecy that went out. And they said, it's so funny, they said the Holy Ghost fell so hard in that sanctuary when he gave that prophecy that everybody that was looking to have a baby ended up having a baby.
That's amazing.
But they were all girls. There was only one boy.
That's amazing.
There was only one boy. So all these December 11th babies popped out because God sent his word. And other people start believing that. That wasn't meant for them, but because they put their faith into what the man of God said, they got a blessing as well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was amazing. And as I was growing up, I didn't know what being prophesied to be born meant. I didn't know what that meant. It didn't mean much to me. But as I got older and once I gave my life to Christ and start realizing these things, then it started meaning everything.
Well, that in your book you describe when that pastor came back around. This is a great. Just tell this story real quick.
Okay, well, he came back around about a year later, and my mother was in the sanctuary. I was born. I made it through my trimesters, and God did what he said he was going to do. Well, he came back and he asked the church, he said, "Where's the lady that I prayed for when I was here last time that was supposed to have a baby?" And everybody in the church kind of like pointed her out. Not that she was hiding or anything, but they're like, "Yep, there she is right there." If she was hiding, they would have snitched on her. But there she is right there. And he said, come on up here, sister. And he said, "Bring that child with you." And she did, and she came up with my father. And he pretty much held me up in front of the congregation like Kunta Kinte or the Lion King. How he just held him up. And my mother was saying that he did that to me, and they start calling me the miracle baby ever since.
Yeah.
There's still people in the church who are older who remember the prophecy and who was there at the sanctuary that day. They still call me the miracle baby.
And you're the miracle man now. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's crazy.
So this, I think, we could go on all day with your miracles, but you should buy the book or check out the audiobook once we finish it.
Amen.
And this is Micah Hobbs, and the book is Journey Beautiful. And what's the website, or how can you get in touch with you?
Oh, cool. They could get in touch with me by going to the website for the book. It's journeybeautifulbook.com. All one word, just like it sounds, Journey Beautiful Book. miraclehotlines.com. All one word. Very easy, very simplistic. And you could check out a lot of things about me, the TV show that I have called What's Good Pittsburgh. You could look at that on there as well. It's inspirational variety. You can see media content that was done on me on the website as well. You can also order the book there too.
Great. This is great. So the takeaway is your miracle for me that I think is it's not just faith since all these miracles, it's just solid trust. And that's what you got out of this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And your story is you're still a young man here.
47 years
47,
young.
but you still got a long story to be written. So it's amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Micah.
Thank you, Dino. And I appreciate you having me on this podcast.
Yeah. And thank you for inspiring me to even do this, because your story is inspiring me and anyone else. Like Micah said, when he tells his miracle story, people will come up to him all the time. I have a miracle too. And I know everyone has miracles. So I hope this inspires you to call in and give us your miracle story, and we can interview you also. So
nice.
All right. Thanks a lot, Micah. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing before we leave, Dino.
Yeah.
One thing I would love for everybody to be encouraged by is what God did is giving me a life scripture. And I would like to just quote it to you because it's something everybody needs. And it's in Proverbs chapter 3. Some of us have heard it. But it says that we are to trust in the Lord with all of our heart. And do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. That will be my message to the people. Trust in God. Trust in the Lord. Don't lean on your own understanding. There's so many things in this world we do not understand. But if we acknowledge Him in all of our ways, He will direct our paths. And don't you want your paths to be directed by God? Haven't we done enough damage trying to do it ourselves? Yeah. Trust in the Lord.
Amen.
And be blessed, everybody.
Definitely.
Thank you, Dina.
All right. Thanks, Micah. If you have a miracle story, call in and leave a message. 412-446-0330 or visit miraclehotline.com. The more proof, witnesses, and evidence you have, the better. If your story is compelling enough, we will play it on the podcast, and we may even interview you. The Miracle Hotline podcast is sponsored by Imagine Audio and Media for all of your audio and video production, voiceovers, and CD and DVD duplication. Visit ImagineAudioMedia.com. This has been the Miracle Hotline podcast. My name is Dino Pandolfo. Please give us a call at 412-446-0330 with your miracle story or visit miraclehotline.com. Thanks for listening, and please call in.